Good morning, everybody. We're back. We're back to help you navigate the minefield that you have to walk through to get your car fixed these days. For that matter, buy a car, new or used, lease a car. And for our regular listeners here, thank you for being who you are and what you do. We have a lot of very informed people out there. The old expression, sometimes you feel like you're preaching to the choir. We've got knowledge on the other end of this microphone out there all over the country that could do this show, because there are a lot of smart people out there, and if you're not one of them, and I don't mean whether you're smart or dumb, if you're informed on automobiles, or if you're informed on buying or leasing an automobile, or getting a fair shake on a repair, or getting the price right in your maintenance. The auto industry, and I'm speaking to the newbies, the folks that haven't listened to the show, are operating like car dealers did 100 years ago. Now, there weren't a lot of car dealers 100 years ago. Henry Ford was here, and of course, you know the story there, assembly line production. He invented that along with Model A Ford, and he got so successful, he had to get somebody to sell the cars for him. He couldn't sell them fast enough. So he began establishing dealers for the Ford, and that's how the accident happened. Everything else evolved. You all heard of, about evolution, and you hear about progress. Well, those attributes abandoned the auto retail car salespeople and the car dealers, and we're operating just like we did back 100 years ago. There's a mystery shopping report, which if you haven't listened to the show before, mystery shopping report is worth the price of admission all by itself. We go into a car dealership unsuspecting, send an undercover agent. Our current undercover agent is named Secret Code Agent Lightning, and we pretend to go through the whole buying process. And if you bought a car in 1960 or 1910, or if you bought one yesterday, they sell you the car the same way. And we're in South Florida, and I refer to that as a wild, wild west, the Dodge City. Sometimes I say Sodom and Gomorrah, but it is a place where you really, really, you need a suit of armor and a bodyguard to go into a car dealership down here. We hit one in the south part of Florida here that you're just going to love listening to this. And it proves my point about how things have not changed in 100 years for car dealers. Now, Rick Kearney, who is, you regulars know very well, Rick is a certified diagnostic master technician. If there's a problem with a car, the odds are 99% he will have a solution. He has a pretty good idea what it should cost, who you should see, or maybe you don't see anybody. Maybe there's a little tweak he can help you with. I can't tell you how many people have called this show who have been able to go out in the garage and do what Rick suggested and save the trip to the car dealership service department, not to mention how much money you save by not having to go to a car dealership service department. So we got a number we'll give out to you regularly. In fact, you'll probably get tired of me giving the number, but Nancy Stewart, my co-host, who I'll introduce to you in just a minute, and Rick Kearney and I will give these numbers out because newbies don't know that they could call the show live radio. Very exciting. You can call us at 877-960-9960. That's 877-960-9960. Now, it's like a freeze frame. When the call comes in, I shut up, Rick shuts up, Nancy shuts up. We listen to you because we don't want you to wait. So your time is very valuable. We respect that, and we've got 5 lines coming into the radio station, and sometimes they all get lit up, and we have more callers getting a busy signal. So we try to keep that continuity going. So please write the number down if you haven't got time to call right now. We're on the air until 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is a little after 8 a.m. and we'll be on the air for 2 hours almost. And call us at 877, write this number down, 877-960-9960, 877-960-9960. Now, Nancy is just signaled me. We have a phone call, and I'm going to shut up.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Earl on Cars. Boy, are you going to have a great time this morning. We've got all kind of stuff to get to. And first of all, before I take that call, I'm going to remind the ladies that, sometimes it seems like as if that we're in a male-dominated world as far as, leasing and buying and getting your vehicle fixed. Well, this morning I'd like you to give us a call and give us your perspective, because the first 2 new lady callers, you win yourself $50. $50 for the first 2 new lady callers, and we'd love to hear from you. We are going to go to Lane, who is calling us from Fort Myers. Good morning, Lane.
Good morning. I've called before. I've been in search of trying to buy a 2024 4Runner Limited, and I found what I wanted up in Virginia. And I put a $500 hold deposit on it. And the dealership that was supposedly to get the car went to another dealership. Apparently they traded it to another dealership, and they said, oh, well, that's the way it goes. But they said, we have another one coming in, same thing, and we'll use your $500 deposit to hold that one. I said, well, I'm going between Florida and Virginia, and the next time, and this is in September, early September. I said, next time I'm down in Virginia is late October. Can you hold it if it comes in early to late October? And when I come in, we'll sit down, do the deal, I'll pay you or finance or whatever. And they said, absolutely no problem, we'll do that for you. Well, the car came in early in October, or early October, and they called me up and sent me photographs of it, and I said, great, I'll be in late October. I gave them the date and everything else, and they said, fine, no problem. 3 days later, they called me and they say, unless you pay for it right now, we're selling the car because we have to make numbers. And I said, what? That wasn't our deal. I said, our deal was blah, 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 blah. They said, well, hold on, we'll call you right back. They never called me right back. The upshot is they sold the vehicle to someone else. They just recently returned my $500 because I called them up and said, just a reminder, I'm coming in 2 days ago. I called them up and said, I'm coming in. They said, they didn't call me back. They texted me and said, my car was sold because I refused to pay for it. I said, what is this? And so I said, well, since you can text me, can you call me? And they said, no, we'll only talk to you over text. And I said, well, that's great. And so the reason why I'm calling, and they finally returned my money, my $500 hold on the car. Well, my question is, I know there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I don't have a leg to stand on. These guys can do whatever they want. But if I went into a local Toyota dealer here, could I get someone to go on a computer and find me a 4Runner Limited somewhere, 24, not the new model coming out, but the current model going out?
Well, yes, you can, Lee. And what I know it's no comfort to you, but this is one of the most common problems. In fact, for the past 4 years with the COVID and the product shortage, it has become a huge problem. I have the same problem in my dealership. As you know, we're Toyota dealers, and we have that happen. When you have a short supply of vehicles and high demand for vehicles, this type of thing happens. In your case, the supply shortage is pretty much over. In fact, there are a lot of manufacturers and dealers that are overstocked. But you raise some very important points for the listeners and for yourself. In the state of Florida, and you're in Fort Myers, so this applies to you, all deposits are refundable unless it is so specifically stated on the receipt. So that tells you potential car buyers that are going to be giving deposits to car dealers, always get a receipt, a real receipt, not the salesman's business card or a piece of paper. There should be a document, a printed document with your rights under the law on deposits. And if it doesn't say that this deposit is refundable, they don't even have to give the deposit back.
Wow.
And point number two, when you deal with a car dealer, you're typically dealing almost exclusively with a salesman. And these salespeople, first of all, some of them are just corrupt. Some of them are just not informed. They're new. The turnover among car salesmen and car dealerships is huge. I mean, you talk to a car salesman today, and you come back to that dealership in 6 months, there's a good chance he won't be working there anymore. The turnover is very high. So when you have a commitment, such as a return deposit, in the period of time that that deposit should be returned, you need to get that in writing from a sales manager. It doesn't have to be a written document that you take to a lawyer. It can be a text, it can be an email. So when someone makes a commitment to you at a car dealership on deposits or anything else, say, could you text what you just said to me? And here you both got smartphones. Watch them text it, look at it on your smartphone. That's as good as a legal document. Had you had that, you would have had recourse against that dealer.
Well, what I plan to do is when I get there, and I'm going there this week, I plan to go to the dealer. I'm not going to be ranting and raving or waving my arms or anything else like that. I'm just going to go in and say, hey, listen, you did me over twice. How about you get on the computer there and find me a car, or at least help me find a car. And they're basically, they've washed their hands of it. Oh, we're into 25s now, blah, blah, blah.
This is very dealer trading, we call it, and all car dealers do it. We do it. We sell probably a third to 50% of our cars are from dealers that we swap cars with. When you look at the combinations and permutations of models of cars, even for one make, there's thousands. I mean, if you take equipment combinations and colors and models, you're talking about a typical manufacturer, Honda or Ford. You probably got 3,000 different possibilities. So no car dealer has a complete inventory, but cumulatively they do. So every car dealer punches the computer, like you say. You can ask him to do that. Here's the rub, though. You can find the car that you want at another dealership, but you have to get a commitment to get that car to your dealership. And dealers treat each other about the way we treat customers, not very well. So
yeah, I found that out.
I had
to ask them to drop ship, and they wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I have an inventory control manager at my dealership. She's been with me for 20 years, and she's worth her weight in gold. Laura, if you're listening, no, I'm not going to give you a raise. I'm paying you a lot of money already, but. She's worth her weight in gold, and she has contacts at all the Toyota dealers all over the country, and her word is her bond, and she deals with people back and forth. If you got something like that, you can get a car commitment and get it quickly, but in most cases, it's a sales manager or a salesman trying to get the car. So chances are you'd be there for 2 days listening to that salesman try to get the car, and then when he got the car, you couldn't be sure he did get the car. But this is an Achilles heels of car dealerships because of the fact they can't possibly give exactly what a car buyer wants. They have to get it from another dealer. That's a whole new ball game.
Well, let me ask you a question, and this is not a good question could I call your dealership and ask them to find me the car?
Well, sure. I would. You give me a specific description. I'll text Laura, my new car inventory control manager, and I'll have an answer that day. Most dealers, in South Florida, most dealers do have a person like that, and a lot of car dealerships out on the West Coast, I'm not that familiar with, but they don't. The sales managers do it. But the higher volume dealers all have a new car inventory. That's all she does is work the phones and the computer. And she has established a rapport with her counterparts at dealerships all over the country. So she'll call Tommy in Paducah, Kentucky, and Tommy and Laura know each other and they trust each other, and that's the way business gets done on locating cars.
Well, I appreciate the information. I'll be calling your dealership next week.
Okay, great, Lee. Thank you very much.
Asking to talk to Lori, was her name? Lori?
Laura.
Laura. Okay, and maybe I can make it happen finally.
Good luck, Lane. You're in
Thank
good
you very
hands with
much.
Laura.
Okay, thank you.
Give us a call. Let us know how it all turned out for you. Our number here is 877-960-9960. And you can also take advantage of our text number, and that's 772-497-6530. I want to also mention that we are on Zoom, and if you have a question and you want to join via Zoom, you can do so at 926-589-0586. And Jonathan, our producer, is right here to take your name and your location information and to put you right up on the screen, and we'll be talking live. Be really exciting. Give us a call. We're going to go to Howard, and Howard is calling us from Jupiter, a regular caller we haven't heard from for a while. Good morning.
Good morning. I hope you're all doing well.
Good.
And, I have a couple of questions for you. I know you're strapped for time. So, Rick, question. I have a quart of oil in my car, and I plan to use it, but it's like over 5 years old. It's still good, or should I throw it out?
No, it's fine.
Okay, that answers that question.
How long is there a shelf life?
There really isn't a shelf life on oil. I mean, it's just there's nothing going to really go bad on it.
Been in the ground for 10,000 years, so I guess it can hang out in the can for a while.
Right. The only thing I would be nervous about is carrying oil or other fluids like that in your car is the possibility of the bouncing around that might flip over, break open, get spilled, and make a big mess in your car.
Is the can of oil stamped for an expiration date?
No.
No.
No expiration dates on oil.
The can would probably expire before
Yeah,
the
the
oil.
plastic bottle's more likely to actually get brittle and break. And like I say, it'll make a big mess in your car.
No, it's not a can. It's a plastic. It's plastic.
Right, but
Plastic bottle.
that plastic over time can get brittle, or just bouncing around, the seams might break. So
Okay, I got it. Yeah. I have a question for you. The GR86, a new sports car coming out. It's going for over $30,000. Is it on sale now, or do you have to wait for that?
I'm pretty sure the GR86 is out. That's actually based on the old Scion 86 that they were making for a little while. But yeah, that vehicle should be available now.
Okay, a friend of mine wants it, but I told him to go to the dealership and see if you can sit in it because it's very low. Is that correct?
Yes, that one is, let's just say it's probably for younger people, or at least people that are very physically fit to climb in and out of some of those. Similar to like the new Toyota Supra. You've got to be
Oh, boy.
physically fit to get in and out of those things.
This guy's 90 years old, so I don't
Oh,
think it's for
geez.
him.
He'll want to go test it first.
I think, but you have them, so he could go test
They're
it.
very short supply, and when a new vehicle comes out, no matter what it is, they're overpriced. If because people like your friend, it's an emotional. I gotta have one. You want to be the first one on the block to have one of these new models, and you pay for that privilege. If he wanted to wait 6 months, he could probably save a couple $1,000. But it is a low supply, high demand.
I don't think he wants to wait 6 months because he may not make it 6 months. You never know. I hate to say that, but
Oh,
it's
boy.
a fact. Okay. So how much? I know it's going to be like 32,000, 33,000. Is that the ballpark figure?
Well, it depends on the dealer. My son Stu is in North Carolina right now. He won't be with us. I would ask him the question because he's on the job day to day. But with my dealership, we draw the line at MSRP. Other dealers don't draw a line at all. And when the new Supra came out, for example, we sold the new Supra at MSRP. We'd probably be doing the same thing with G86. I can't confirm that because I'm not active day to day. We adjust our prices on a monthly basis. But the Supra, we sold at MSRP. Dealers were charging up to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 over sticker for the "I gotta have one" crowd that wants to be the first on their block.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day, and very informative today.
Thanks, Howard. We really
Thanks,
appreciate
Howard.
your following the show so closely.
Yeah, we love hearing
you're one of
from
our
you.
most important callers.
877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. We're going to go back to the phones where Bob is holding from Lake Park. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody today?
Great.
I'd like to correct you on something which is inaccurate that you've been putting out there for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This theory of yours that all dealers will trade cars, and it's just not true. And I don't think you should be telling people that. That's not the reality of the situation. And I've had an experience where I found a car, and I've been looking for about a year. Found one down south in Greco at Fort Lauderdale had it. And I went over to Molnex, and I asked them if they could get the car, do a deal of trade. And they kind of just led me on for 3 days with all kinds of, running me around in a circle. So then I called the sales. I had a friend of mine, a salesman down at the Del Rey Greco. I said to him, well, I don't want to drive all the way to Fort Lauderdale because I'm up north here in the Lake Park. I says, can I do the deal with you? Bring the car up to your other dealership in Del Rey. And they couldn't even do that. He said that they weren't trading with now this is the same owner. He's got two locations. They both sell the same car. They're Ford dealers. And they wouldn't even bring the car up to Del Rey for me to do the deal.
Well, Bob, you're right. I was wrong. 100% of car dealers don't always trade cars. I would say 99% do. It's very, very unusual. To maximize your profitability and your volume, you almost have to trade cars. If a dealer chooses not to do that for whatever reason, he's an independent businessman. He can refuse to trade a car with another dealer, and of course the other dealers would also refuse to trade cars with him because he wouldn't trade one to them. They won't trade one back to him. Quick story about that incident. When I first became an honest car dealer and I stopped charging dealer fees and dealer install accessories and became a critic of the dealers that did do that, the dealers, all the Toyota dealers, got together and said, we're not going to trade cars with Earl Stewart Toyota anymore. And as I say, over half the cars I sell, I rely on dealer trades. So I was in a hell of a predicament. The dealers were boycotting me. Long story short, I called an attorney, and he referred me to a antitrust attorney in New York. Antitrust attorney says that's an illegal boycott. It's punishable by large fines and even jail time. And I said, would you do me a favor and write a letter to Southeast Toyota explaining that to them so they can explain, that's the distributor that we work under, that the other car dealers had better trade with Earl Stewart or they're going to go to jail or be fined. So that's how I know all about dealer trading. I've been there, done that.
Well, they were telling me, originally over in Monix, I had answered this question previously, and they said that they wouldn't definitely, they've never dealer traded in their own market, number one. No, so they wouldn't trade with Alpaca or Wayne, anybody in their market.
That's
And they
it's
said
just stupid that they do that. No, there's
Well,
no good reason for
that's
that.
I mean, everybody's entitled to run the business the way they want to run the business.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But then they said because of COVID, they weren't trading with anybody. COVID because there was a lack of supply of cars. So
Yeah.
I can understand that. And I told them, I said, COVID is over. And I said, this car is not in your market. It's down in Fort Lauderdale. It's outside of your area. And they just ran me around a circle. But by the time I got the numbers from the salesman down in Fort Lauderdale, I was looking them over, and I went to call him the next day. The car was sold.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's no cure for stupidity, so that what they're doing was just stupid, and the cost of business, they're losing dozens and dozens of sales because of that policy. Bob, thanks very much for the call.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Thanks for calling. Give us a call toll free at 877-960-9960. We're going to go back to the phones and talk to Warren. He's calling us from Royal Palm Beach. Good morning, Warren.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're great.
Got a silly question for you. What is the best vehicle, in your opinions, under $40,000?
First thing I'd do would be to grab my Consumer Reports, but I think the October issue of Consumer Reports does have that listed. It's if you asked me that and I didn't want to check Consumer Reports, the cars that come to mind would be a Honda, Ford, Toyota, Lexus. And then you have to look pretty hard to get a Lexus under 40,000, but a late model used. Rick?
Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, that
They're Toyota Corolla is one of the lowest maintenance, most dependable, most reliable, and when you look around and you see them on the road, you'll see 30-year-old Corollas still driving around.
Or you can just go to Consumer Reports, cr.org, and you could go to the local library. They have free access online to Consumer Reports, and you go to Consumer Reports and say, what's the best car under $40,000? And it'll show you half a dozen cars or more and tell you why it's the best car. It's a great idea that everyone should do, is find out the best and the worst cars. You positively don't want to buy one of the worst cars, and you'll have a wide selection among the best cars. That way you can make an intelligent choice.
The September issue has a whole lot of information in it. Mm-hmm. October has a little bit. September, Warren, I think this is the edition that you're looking for. They really have a great selection, and they have a interesting road test report. So I'd say Consumer Reports September edition.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of research, and that's why I called and asked about your personal opinion, because I've researched it so much my head is spinning.
Yeah, there's a lot of sources out there, but Consumer Reports just head and shoulders above the rest of them. Edmunds, Kelley Blue Book, Cars.com. There's a lot of sources out there, but the one impeccable source, and the reason Consumer Reports, not only have they been around a long time, but they're the only source of information that isn't in bed with the car dealers or the car manufacturers. All the other names you heard me mention have a relationship, a very positive relationship with the dealers and with the manufacturers. And if you're making money from somebody, it's awful hard to say something bad about one of their products. But Consumer Reports will not accept advertising. And they get all their money from contributions. And when they test a car, if they want to test a Chevrolet Corvette, they actually send a rep into the local Chevrolet dealer, wherever Consumer Reports may be. They go in there and they pay the price on the showroom floor for the car, and then they take the car back to the track at Consumer Reports and put it through. You want to talk about an examination? They really go through a complete examination. So when they say the Corvette has a rating of 86 or 92, it's good, bad, or in the middle. you can be sure that their information is accurate.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the call.
You're welcome, Warren.
Bye.
Again, our number is 877-960-9960, and you can also text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget that you can catch us on Zoom, and that number is 926-589-0586. Now back to, Rick, do you have anything on YouTube or Facebook?
A little quiet on
Facebook.
YouTube this morning, but we do have Anne Marie's good morning text.
Oh, great. Good morning, Anne-Marie.
Okay, she says, "Good morning. Recent hurricanes triggered massive evacuations with thousands of people trying to use the same roads at the same time. This prompts the question, assuming a full tanker charge, what type of vehicle fares best in the long hours of stop and crawl traffic of an evacuation? In other words, what vehicle is least likely to leave you stranded on the side of the road? Gas-powered, hybrid, or all-electric?"
Well, I would say hybrid.
I think I'd agree with that one because the hybrid car can shut off the gasoline engine and run on its electric power and only turn the gas engine on when it needs it, which would extend the use of that gasoline quite a bit.
Stop and go driving is doing a lot of charging.
Right. And your electric car, unfortunately, is going to be using that continuous use of electricity, and its charge is only going to last so long. Same thing with a gasoline-powered car.
Yeah.
So
if
myself,
you're-
I'd want a hybrid for that one.
Yeah,
I
you're right.
agree.
The EV would be my last choice in a situation like that because everything, the air conditioner and everything is dependent on the battery. And if you're in gridlock and you're trying to get someplace and you can see where the charging station, you might know where the charging station is. Of course, when you get there, it's going to have a line behind it a mile long, and and you don't know when you're going to get there. So the answer is a hybrid.
Exactly. Yep.
Hope we answered that question for you, Anne-Marie. It's always great to hear from you. We have anything else?
Just one quick personal thing. A quick shout out to my wife. Today's our 22nd wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary, Chris.
Happy anniversary, Chris.
Happy anniversary, Chris. Happy anniversary, Rick.
Thank you.
Yay.
Here's a little bulletin that surprised me, and it was in the automotive news. We talk about electric vehicles versus combustion engine and hybrids, and the market now, there's 15% of the cars being built now are electric, and that's startling. 15% doesn't sound like a big number, but a year ago it was like 5%, so they're really, really making inroads. And one of the dangers and one of the things that we advise you against going back 2 or 3 years ago with the electric vehicles is the battery represented a huge percentage of the cost of the car. The batteries had a very real life, which wasn't very long back then. But the improvements have been enormous in electric vehicles over the past 3 years. The bottom line is that your best buy today on a used vehicle could be an electric vehicle. I was shocked to read that in automotive news. But what's happened is with the surge in production of new EVs, people are buying, and of course they're trading them in. Battery technology has also made enormous strides, so the batteries don't, they don't run, they don't self-destruct like the original electric batteries. But in the old Prius, those batteries didn't last as long. Now the batteries do last a long time, and therefore you can buy a used EV that's 2 or 3 years old, get an investment tax, get the EV tax credit, and save yourself thousands of dollars. So if you're in the 40,000 mile market for a used car, consider an electric vehicle, and you can save yourself some money and see what electric vehicles are all about.
Yeah, the technology on those batteries has advanced exponentially. I mean, it's not only do they have a hugely increased range, but the lifespan of that battery is now way, way better.
Yeah, I think Donovan, one of our top YouTube callers or posters, said that basically the battery will not deteriorate any faster than the entire car will. Nothing lasts forever, but it used to be primary concern. And on this show, probably 2 or 3 years ago, I said, don't buy a used EV because you don't know about the battery. If you buy a Tesla used EV, you can go right to the, the car will tell you the shape of the battery and the estimated life. So you always know that you've got a good battery, and if you don't have a good battery, you don't want to buy the car.
Yep.
Subject that if we don't have any calls, let me give the number out because we got to have those calls. 877-960-9960. And if you write the number down, you might not have a question right now or a comment, but you will. And the number is 877-960-9960. We also can be reached with a regular text, which is, more or less, a lot of people don't like to be live on radio and talk. It's a challenge. I mean, I got nervous when we first started this radio show. We don't get nervous anymore, but if you are a little bit nervous, our text number is 772-497-6530. That's 772-497-6530. And again, I'm doing this to open the channels up because we love to hear from you. I believe we have a caller.
Yeah, we don't have a caller, but I have a question for you. Do you want to talk about Amazon and the lack of direct sales?
Yeah.
Or would you like to address the Texas Automobile Dealers Association and
Well, we could talk about both of them. The Amazon was supposed to start retailing cars in July. Matter of fact, last year, toward the end of the year, we got really excited about it, and Amazon had actually cut a deal with Kia, Genesis, and Hyundai to retail cars on Amazon. And if you're an Amazon user, and 2/3 of the people listening are, because Amazon is huge, if you're at Amazon, you know the beauty of dealing with Amazon. First of all, you get your money back, no argument, if you want to return something. The payment is super simple. You have the reviews right in front of you, and it's just the best place to buy anything. So to hear that they were going to become car dealers, so to speak, got us all pepped up, and nothing happened. It's kind of like Ashley Moody, Rick.
I suddenly just had this weird image pop into my head. There's a lot of people that make money by buying up Amazon returns and reselling them. Can you imagine a car lot that is all Amazon cars that were returned for one reason or another?
Wow. That's I hadn't thought about that, but that could very well happen. And I'm not sure. I hate to be one of these conspiracy theorists, but I smell a rat. Why are things frozen with the Amazon initiative? If anybody has got any information on that, last time. I think it was a week ago since I went on Amazon specifically to see how they progressed. And as of about a week ago, not at all. No conference. Now, you could get parts and things like that to your Genesis or your Kia or your Hyundai, but you can't buy one. So I Florida Automobile Dealers Association that as of September 1st this year, 2024, she was going to prosecute and fine offenders of the Florida statute that went into effect over 20 years ago that said you can't put junk fees into a car price. The price you advertise is the price the consumer must pay. So Amazon, tell me it ain't so. Jeff Bezos, are you out there? What's going on? Let's hear something about the initiative. I think it scared somebody to death so bad that they're just being closed-mouthed about it.
Yeah, and what a great, exciting time, for everyone to think that they could purchase a car that way. Anyway, I don't know. Would you like to give, Ashley Moody a call, our Attorney General? Give her a call and voice your opinion. You can do so at 866-966-7226. Would you like to have Jonathan roll the video?
Yeah, we can do that. We're talking about the Texas Circuit Court, the Texas Automobile.
Excuse me, we just had a call come in. We're going to go to Barry first,
Okay.
who's calling us from Tampa.
Okay.
Good morning, Barry.
Morning, everybody.
Welcome.
I was wondering if you could explain the difference between all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and 4x4, and is there any reason to buy this technology for a vehicle that stays only in Florida?
4x4 and four-wheel drive are basically the same thing. Basically what that means, it's a two-wheel drive vehicle that you can then shift it into four-wheel drive, and you have the option of usually 4 high and 4 low. 4 low, of course, produces much more torque. It's geared to create more torque and therefore get you up out of a bad mud situation, sand, snow, whatever, and gives you multiple advantages with that. 4 high lets you run in four-wheel drive, but at higher speeds. All-wheel drive is a car that is four-wheel drive all the time. You don't have the option of switching it to two-wheel drive. And it does have a very good effect here. Even in Florida, all-wheel drive can be a good advantage. Say if you're using to tow a boat, you need to get in, up and down off a boat ramp. Sandy conditions, wet, rainy conditions, all-wheel drive gives you better traction because all 4 wheels can have power at the same time. And with modern systems, it can transfer the power to each wheel as needed to give you better safety control in slippery conditions. So yeah, even in Florida, all-wheel drive is a very good option to have.
Okay, is there any advantage of four-wheel drive over all-wheel drive? If it sounds like all-wheel drive is a little bit more sophisticated. And
They all pretty much are, but four-wheel drive, the only real advantage that it might have is by switching to two-wheel drive when you're just on normal roads, you would save a little bit of gas because it's not using quite as much power to power all the wheels. For myself personally, I would actually want to opt for an all-wheel drive vehicle because say you're driving down the road and something happens in an emergency, just a panic emergency situation, you've only got a couple seconds, or maybe not even that, to react. So having power to all 4 wheels can save you from skidding out on wet, rainy roads. So I think the all-wheel drive would be the much safer vehicle to have, and safer, of course, is going to be the biggest advantage. It just keeps you under control better.
okay, now I understand like the Toyota Camry all-wheel drive system is sort of electrically powered because it's a hybrid system. Does the computer switch it to two-wheel drive when the conditions warrant it to save better fuel economy, or is it always powering all the 4 wheels?
It can switch and run only just the front motor, the front electric motors, and then the rear motor only kicks in when it needs to.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Not a problem, anytime.
Thank you, Barry. We are going to stay with the phones, and then we'll get to that audio that I spoke about earlier. Excuse me. We're going to talk to Trish. Good morning, Trish.
Hi, good morning. How is everyone?
Great.
Hi. I have a question. My lights, the 4 lights to the left of, the speedometer go on intermittently. Now, remember, I have a 2016 Honda Fit. Right now, they've been on for about a week, okay? And I don't know, they've been off for a while. It's real intermittent, and I don't know what causes it. Now, I'll go to my local guy, he'll plug in, his computer, probably shut them all off. No code will come up. They'll probably just shut all off, and I don't know when they'll ever come on again. I mean, nothing's wrong with the car, just the lights go on, all 4 of them.
What 4 lights are they?
Okay, the tire, the battery, the skid, and then there's something else with an exclamation point. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
All 4 of them.
Well, Earl just looked it up on on Google, and he's got one that says if all the lights come on a Honda Fit, it's possibly a diagnostic signal from the car's self-testing. But I'm looking more at their second part here, where it says, however, it could also indicate an electrical issue, such as a weak alternator or corroded battery cable. I'm thinking you've probably got a loose connection somewhere in one of the systems, because those 4 lights, the tire light and the skid control light, are 2 separate systems. So the fact that you've got that coming on along with that exclamation point, which is an indicator of warning issues, something seems electrical there. You've most likely got a loose connection somewhere, maybe in the back of the odometer, the back of the instrument cluster, or in one of the electrical systems going to the computer. Maybe even a bad ground wire.
When he did a diagnostic test, just like a week or 2 ago, nothing came up. Now, but the lights, but he did it anyway. He did it for me because I just had the tire pressure light come on, and I wanted to see, hey, how come that's not coming on when my tire pressure's low? He just happened to plug it in. He had a very sophisticated system, and everything was fine. And maybe a week later, all these 4 lights came on.
Oh.
Now, of course, I'll go. But he's not there on the weekend. Of course, I'll go back to him on Monday to do it again. I don't know. They might go off again on the weekend. But it's really strange, and this is totally intermittent.
Yeah, that, for me, the first thing that I'd be doing, and I hate to put it this way, because this could get very involved and could get rather expensive for the amount of time that he's going to have to spend doing this, I would start by doing what's called voltage drop tests across all the ground wires, because that really sounds to me like an electrical connection issue, a ground wire, that the connection is good but not perfect, and at times it's loosening up just enough that it's causing bad signals into the computer. And it's...
Okay, that's cool. What's that called again? I'm sorry.
Basically, it's just testing all the grounds for a voltage drop.
Okay.
And it creates a situation that we call GIGO. It's a computer term, means garbage in, garbage out. When the computer gets bad signals coming in, it sends out bad results, which is turning those lights on. But that really sounds to me like a ground wire issue, because you've got multiple systems picking up signals, and I would bet anything you've got either a wire that's starting to break or a ground point connection that's getting loose.
Trish, whatever you do, if you bring it in and you're talking to a technician or to a service advisor about what Rick has advised you, before you leave the car with it, be sure you get a written estimate of the most this is going to charge. Take care of that. You don't want to just leave and come back later and find out that they had a 4-hour diagnostic charge on the top of the fix. But as Rick says,
no, he does it while I'm there. I know him very well.
Oh, good. Okay.
Bottles of wine, he doesn't charge.
Hey Trish, so this is the same. This is the same tire dealer that's been, assisting you during your tire journey, so to speak, right?
No.
And you can trust him.
No, I can trust him. This is not my tire guy, but he's there's a few people involved in that, but this is is not the same person. So no, but I do trust him, very well for other things. Like he told me I need, brake fluid and other fluids. He says,
Yeah.
but look, just wait till you get, another tire rotation and another oil change. So he didn't say, hey, you need it right away. Just wait. So he's pretty, honest with me.
Oh,
So
great.
and he doesn't charge me for a diagnostic test.
Great.
Very good.
Well, thanks very much for calling,
I'll let
Trish.
you know. I'm sorry?
I say thanks very much for calling.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Do
you.
you have any other questions, Trish?
No, but I guess I'll let you know next week what
Yeah,
he says.
please.
Right?
A follow-up call. We'd
Okay.
appreciate it. Okay, our number here is
Sure.
877-960-9960. You can text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget, we do have a Zoom number. And if you didn't jot that down and you didn't call in, it's a lot of fun. You can talk to Jonathan. He's our producer. He'll get your information and pass it along to us. And that number is 926-589-0586. We are going to go to Dot, who's calling us from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Dot.
Good morning, Nancy. How are you guys?
Great. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, I've been listening. Obviously, I do most Saturdays. I want to circle back to car batteries with electric cars and hybrids. Building on the caller a few minutes ago, how would one find out what the battery life remains on that car if they're not in a Tesla that's built to tell them? I know someone that's very concerned with her hybrid. It's a Ford Edge, I believe, and they're very concerned about when that battery's going to go and how much time she's got
Sure.
at expense.
So your question is on battery life.
A Ford dealer probably would be able to run a diagnostic on that battery and see if there's any signs that it's starting to degrade. Other than that, really, there's not much you can do to tell. You don't want to base it on the age and miles of the car. Obviously, the older the car and the higher the mileage, the more likely that battery might be starting to degrade a bit. But if it's anything less than, say, 70,000 and less than 5 years old, or less than 7 years old, I'll say, I would feel pretty comfortable with it.
Okay. And another idea I had one Saturday when I couldn't call in, the conversation had been about all the things our cars do that we don't even know about. And I know, Rick, you've stuff on my 2015 RAV. I thought it would be fun if there was a tip of the week that, to kind of help us out with that. Some of these unusual cars do that we don't know about, such as being able to adjust the height of the seat belt.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something we could look into. By the way, the thing she's mentioning about adjusting the seatbelt, most cars now on the B pillar of the car, where the shoulder belt comes off of to pull it down, you can adjust the mounting piece up or down, usually about 6 to 8 inches, to make the belt feel more comfortable on you while you're driving.
I just wish mine would go lower because it's at the lowest setting and still choke.
Yeah, some of them can be a bit annoying that way.
All right. Thank you guys for doing what you do every week. I love the show.
Oh,
Have a
thanks,
good one.
Dot. It was nice to hear from you. Good luck with your friend's hybrid battery. She's in good hands, with proper care. Sometimes they last up to 200,000 miles. Right, Rick?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen hybrids with a couple 100,000 quite often now.
Yeah.
They're getting up there in age, and
Yeah.
we're starting to see that. I know the second generation Prius, for a long time, when they first were coming out, as they were hitting 120, 130,000 miles, we were actually starting to replace a lot of the hybrid batteries, but now the quality has come so far up that we just don't replace them near as often anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one a month at the most now.
Is it based on a make and model, would you say?
It's hard to say because I really only see the Toyotas myself, but I would say all the manufacturers, the quality level is coming up because remember, most of the hybrid batteries are being produced by the same certain few companies, and they simply make different models for each manufacturer. So the same company might be making batteries for Ford, Honda, Chevy, GM, and simply producing what they require, and so it's all working out. I mean, it's not like you have
definitely.
one company that makes only hybrid batteries for only Toyota. These basic companies, they're making them for all the makes manufacturers.
They're working together.
Yep.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to talk to Rick, give him a call at 877-960-9960. We are going to go to Marty, who's a regular caller, and Roadrunner Steve is holding. We'll get right to you. Good morning, Marty.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
How you doing?
I got a question for Rick and a question for Stu. First of all,
not
since
here.
you've been talking batteries,
Stu's in the Smoky Mountains.
I'll take a stab at it, and Stu's after.
in my trunk, there's a battery in the crown.
Yep.
Is that the hybrid battery back there? Or is that a regular battery?
Almost. The hybrid battery is actually kind of up between the rear wheel struts, so it's pretty well buried under there. You wouldn't be able to see it unless you disassembled a bunch of parts. The small black plastic battery, that's your 12-volt battery. That's the one that, just like a normal battery in a car, will start the car.
Right.
But on a hybrid, that 12-volt battery, all it really has to do is turn on the relays and boot up the computers when you put the car in ready mode. And additionally, if you only put the car just in accessory mode, it'll simply power everything while you're sitting there in accessory mode. That's why, and it's pretty small though, so you don't want to run it in accessory very long. Just put the car in ready mode, it turns on all the relays, boots up the computers, and then it just sits back and goes for a ride.
Okay, well, I don't touch it, so whatever it's doing properly.
Yep.
Now I want to ask Stu a question. No, Stu's not there. Let me ask Earl.
Okay.
I've had my Crown for about 8 months. When I'm out driving around, I've only seen two other Crowns on the road. So, not that I'm looking for Crowns specifically, but I went online just for the hell of it, and I checked 4 dealerships in West Palm Beach, and nobody has Crowns. So my question is it because they come from Japan directly, or what do you say the reason is there's not too many of them?
Well, the Crown replaced the Avalon. As you know, that was the luxury top-of-the-line car. Now the Crown is a luxury top-of-the-line car. So it's a matter of supply and demand. And even though we say cars are plentiful today, that's a relative statement because let's go back 5 years before COVID. At our dealership, we would typically have at least 300 new cars on the ground. Right now, we have less than half that. So the new normal right now is still relatively limited inventory, and the supply chain is pretty much flowing smoothly, but not completely smoothly. So the Crown would represent maybe 5% of the sales of Toyota, if that, probably 2 or 3%. And they just don't build that many Crowns because there are not that many people buying them. That would be my best guess. If Stu were here, he'd probably have a better answer for you, but that's the best I can do.
Yeah, basically it's a high demand. It's a high demand and low supply.
Okay, yeah. I guess when anybody gets one, they sell it.
Yeah, and they get all the money for it too, because there's nothing sinful about a company charging more for a product that is in high demand and low supply. That's capitalism, that's economics 101. Somewhere in that economics 101, when dealers are selling cars for $20,000 over a sticker, it turns from capitalism into greed and just treating your customers like trash. So it's hard for me. Corvette is a good example. How many years has it been since you could buy a Corvette for less than sticker price? If you buy a Corvette today from the average Chevrolet dealer, you're going to end up paying $1,000 or $2,000 or more over sticker. And again, General Motors does that on purpose. It's an image car for them, and so they keep the supply down, and they know that the demand is high. So the Crown, electric cars, and a line typically fall into that category.
Yeah, but you're right, Marty, about them being historically popular in Japan and some select international markets. So you have that too.
I can only tell you this: when I got mine, they gave me a very good discount. So that's the only reason why I bought it. And they gave me very good money for my trade. And it's, again, the only reason why I bought it. But I agree, it's not a cheap car.
No. Hey, Rick?
I just got a quick note here from Donovan. He says, for the caller, the factory that produces the Crown in Japan has been paused a few times because apparently Toyota has been doing some emissions cheating. And they got caught and they got paused a couple times. Emissions testing cheating.
Yeah, that was a shock. That was a shock. I mean, here's my alma mater, the company that I praise. It's absolutely amazing the amount of skullduggery and fraud and that goes on with auto manufacturers. I thought Toyota was squeaky clean, but Volkswagen's been in a huge amount of trouble. Hyundai, forget about it. Every manufacturer, Stellantis is a joke. But when Toyota got caught cheating on emission standards, it was such a shock. Maybe it's some sort of a secret code manufacturers have. You have to lie and cheat somewhat.
I guess.
Oh, I thought that was the qualifications.
Wow.
Well, very good. Maybe that's the reason why they don't have any around.
Well, maybe.
He says the Crown Signia is extremely rare to find because it's been delayed because of those emissions cheating issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't been able to tell there's any cheating on my car. So far, it runs good, so that's all I care about.
That's good.
Excellent.
Glad to hear.
All right, well,
Okay.
have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks. Nice to hear from you, Marty. We're going to go to Roadrunner Steve, who has been patiently holding.
Meet.
Beep, beep.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
Beep,
morning.
beep.
My friend, he calls me up. He has a 2022 Kia Sorento, and he said it wouldn't start. So I go over there. He shows me on the dashboard, key fob, the key is not connecting, to the brain with that of the car. Key fob not detected.
Okay.
So I open up the hood, I check the battery, it says good, but on the dash, key fob not detected. So I notice on the battery, they got that little clear plastic thing on top, right? I said, well, that's probably the problem right there. But the battery's only 2 years old. So he calls up Kia, the guy tells him, put the key fob next to the starter with that.
Right,
So
right
I
up next to
started
the start button.
Yes.
And did it work?
I rolled my eyes when he said that. I'm just like, yeah, okay. I just said, key fob not starting. So we wind up having the car towed back to Kia to get a new battery with that. So that was the only thing with that.
Here's the reason I'm asking, Steve. Did he check the battery in the key fob?
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, he had brand new. That's what I told him too.
Okay.
I know that them little things.
And Steve, did you say there was a coating over the key put? A plastic?
No. Oh, on the battery. On the battery, they got it's like an inch long, half-inch wide, clear plastic.
Right, that's probably got fusible links in it.
Right.
It's basically one unit that has several fuses in it.
Right. With that, but he had to get a new battery for 2022.
So the car battery was bad. The 12-volt battery. Oh, okay.
Yeah. With that. Okay, now a fast question. On my Roadrunner, I noticed I had fuel around my fuel pump. Okay?
Oh.
But the next day, I started up, no leaks whatsoever. Now, could I have flooded the fuel pump? And I read they have a repo in those fuel pumps to get the extra gas out if it's flooded?
No, because your fuel pump should be full of fuel all the time.
Right.
Yours, let's see, what year's your Roadrunner?
69.
Okay, yeah, so you're going to have a mechanical fuel pump on the side of the engine. I'm explaining this for the folks out there that are wondering what we're talking about. And it's actually designed to suck the fuel from the tank all the way through the line and then push it up to the carburetors. But now flooding is when you hit your fuel pump, your accelerator pedal too many times when you're trying to start the car and you get too much fuel in the intake manifold. Now it's liquid down in there and it can't atomize, so it can't go into the cylinders and burn properly. But no, if you had fuel leaking around the fuel pump and then it stopped, that's one of the oddest things. I've never heard of a leak that comes and goes, but I'd be checking the gaskets around that fuel pump and the lines coming to it, because if a fuel leak is a very serious issue, and I'd be looking very closely at that.
Yeah, well, I don't have it now, so I thought I was reading about to have a repo where, I guess like a pinhole for the fuel to escape.
No, not on a fuel pump.
Okay.
Hey, Steve,
that should be completely sealed.
is there a strong odor of any kind of a
not at
smell
all.
from gas?
This is the first time I seen it and noticed it.
And it was
Never
definitely
had that problem.
it was definitely fuel.
Oh yeah, I tasted it.
Ah,
How about your fuel pressure? Was that affected or?
No, I got the clear gas filter. I could see right through it what's there. The next day, the car started right up. I think I just pumped too much gas into it.
Possibility.
I guess could be, but
Are you still there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Hey, just as a sort of a sidebar here, I don't know what Rick has to say about this, but maybe there's a crack in the fuel lines.
No, I put a new fuel line on.
Oh boy.
I'd be a little nervous. I'd be checking the connections on your fuel lines, the clamps, making sure everything's nice and tight there.
I mean, how long has it been, Steve?
Okay.
I changed them 2 weeks ago. The fuel line.
Okay. Well, that covers that
It's only
theory of the
it's only
corrosion.
like 11 inches long. So I put the good clamps on. So it's not leaking around there. I could see it on the fuel pump itself. That's why I asked about the repo.
Yeah. No, I just kind of monitor that. Keep an eye on it.
Definitely.
Because they're definitely, you should never ever have fuel leaking out anywhere on the car.
Yeah. And they tell you to stop driving, if it happens.
Well, I carry 3 fire extinguishers in the car.
Yeah. Hey, is there any visible damage, Steve? Under your car?
Nothing. I think it's just old age. That's all.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can
All right,
understand that.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye.
That was Roadrunner Steve from Boynton Beach. We are going to go to Bill, who's been patiently holding, and John, we will get to you in West Palm Beach. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Nancy. I wanted to run something by Earl or Rick, perhaps, about the batteries.
Okay.
I've read how the battery industry is looking to move beyond lithium as a substance in it, and they're looking at other I don't know, chemicals or whatever, but I've also read about solid state batteries, and I was wondering if where that stands and if we could touch on just how those would work.
I gotta confess my ignorance on that one, that I really don't know very much about solid state batteries, but it's a new technology. I know that I've heard of them just once or twice, and who knows, it could be the next thing to really actually work on the market, you know, and avoid having to use the lithium like they are.
Sure. I haven't read much on it myself. Like I said, it just sounds interesting. Can I touch on one other thing if you don't have?
Sure.
I know you have other callers. Just real quick with the full-time all-wheel drive. I was told years ago that if you have a vehicle like that, and if you have an issue with the tire that needs to be replaced under warranty, that supposedly they need to replace all 4 tires. Is that still true? Do you know about that?
I've always believed that it's best to replace tires all 4 at once if you can. At the minimum, I would want to replace tires on the same axle at the same time. I've actually seen a case where somebody, it was with a vehicle that had the old style tire pressure system, where it was reading the wheel speed of the tire and determining if one was low on air, because it would move at a different speed than the others, depending on whether it was flat or not. And
never contemplated that.
Well,
Okay.
this was the original way that tire pressure systems worked, when it had a light to come on, before they had sensors in the wheel. And one wheel had a very full brand new tread, and the other did not. It was almost bald, and it was actually kicking on this light because the tire with less tread was a smaller diameter, only by a little bit, and that actually would trigger the system to think that the tire was low on air. So, because back in those days, they used the ABS wheel speed sensors to determine how fast all 4 tires were going, and if one was constantly going at a different speed than the other 3, they decided, well, that means that tire's low. So it could almost be the same thing, but I would never recommend replacing only 1 tire if the other 3 are much lower on tread. If, say, you've got tires that are almost brand new, they've only got maybe 1,000 miles on them, I'd have no problem replacing just 1 tire. But if they've got, like, say, 15, 20, 30,000 miles, I'd want to replace them at least as a pair, if not all 4.
Okay. Well, like I said, I was told that it's some legal issue or something. I don't know if it's federal or what, that with all full-time all-wheel drives, that if you had to replace one, you had to replace all 4 of them.
I've never actually heard of a law about that.
Okay. All right. Well, I have other questions, but I know you have other callers. You all have a good weekend.
Thanks for the call, Bill.
Yeah, Bill,
Sure.
we love hearing from you. Give us a follow-up. We are closing down the phone lines right now, and we're going to go to any YouTube, Facebook,
Okay.
any messages that you may have.
Well, I got a couple of them here from Donovan. First one he says, this week Tesla started to give out trials of the latest version of the full self-driving, and I was curious after Earl's story last week of the car driving him to the doctor. He says, I got the latest version of full self-drive on my Model 3, and I used it to go from my house in Port St. Lucie and had it drive me all the way to Western Boca for dinner with friends, then used the new Actual Smart Summons feature, where the car came to get me at the front of the restaurant from where the car had parked on its own, then had the car drive me home. I didn't have a single interruption. It worked perfectly in Friday night South Florida traffic, and I know it's not going to be perfect in all situations, but it's very impressive on how well it can work. And here as we go down, he says, by the middle of next year, Florida will have 274 supercharger locations just in Florida. He says Florida's the number 2 state for EVs, so you've definitely got lots of charging available there. And let's see if there's... he also says on the, for the caller, solid-state batteries are a scam and will not be happening anytime soon. The next thing is lithium sulfur batteries.
Well, can I jump in there?
Yeah.
Because I Googled that too. Solid state batteries are the name of the game, but the technology hasn't caught up on that, and there will be all batteries will be solid state by the end of the 2020s. In other words, 28, 20, 28, 29. It's going to be a few years, but when it happens, there will be nothing but solid state batteries.
Well, and he goes to say that the next thing is lithium sulfur batteries and high silicon lithium batteries. Silicon is the easiest way to increase energy density, and CATL and BYD, which are companies that make the batteries, both have batteries with 40% more energy density because of silicon. And he says semi-solid state batteries are possible to be made today, but are very expensive to scale. So hopefully that will be changing in the near future. And as Earl says, by 2030, pretty much everything might be solid-state batteries.
And Donovan, for you, Nancy and I are thrilled with our autonomous. And you heard the story we told about going to the doctor in a driving rainstorm that I would not have driven myself in. The autonomous Tesla Plaid drove better than I could. I was, if it had been me on the turnpike in that kind of weather, I would have pulled over. And the problem is, I might not have been able to pull over. It was, the visibility was so bad. Now, fast forward to our Cyber Beast, which also now has the full self-driving download. Interesting story there. We came to the radio station this morning in the Cybertruck Beast, and fully autonomous from our home to the radio station. We pulled up in front of the radio station. The Cybertruck parked itself, and the interesting thing is that apparently Tesla has put the same software, which is the most advanced software they had for the S model and the Plaid and the other Teslas. They put that in the Cybertruck. I was happy they did it because I thought it would take a while. They said it was not there now because of the design of the vehicle and the fact that it's designed for off-road and a lot of other things. Well, the software, autonomous software, the Cybertruck is not nearly as good as the software in the Tesla Plaid. There's little glitches in there that are, and nothing that I've seen so far. Well, we had one dangerous incident yesterday. I was really disappointed because I was thinking, hey, full self-driving, total autonomous is here, and I'm saying that driving the Plaid with a Cyber Beast, it's not there, and I'm praying for another software update on the Cyber Beast, but it's good, but it's not great like it is on the Plaid.
Donovan says, I will come wash your Cybertruck if anyone puts a true solid-state battery in a car you can buy by the end of the decade, Earl.
Okay.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
I hope that you can wash my car for me, but I don't know. Yeah. Donovan, I'd love to talk to you more, but I think the thing is, think about this, Donovan. With the sum total of human knowledge and artificial intelligence increasing exponentially, the time between 2024 and 2030 is almost a lifetime. And I say to Donovan, because I know you're a genius, if you've got 6 years with AI on warp speed, which it is on warp speed, I can't say that anything that your human mind can imagine cannot be created by the end of this decade with artificial intelligence. I think all bets are off in terms of design and what can be done. Just my thoughts. Yeah. And Donovan, you're probably right and I'm probably wrong, but that's my thoughts.
Well, Automania is asking, what is average lease payment on a Crown XLE?
there's no such thing as an average lease payment because it depends upon, first of all, the MSRP of the Crown. Also, it depends on the length of the lease and the down payment. So, if you're talking about the MSRP, that's one thing. But and I can't, and I don't know what the answer is, but because Stu's not here, Stu would be able to tell me that.
Yeah. I gave him an answer here to say, Stu's off today, but if you could check back with us next week on that. This one from Mark H. He says, shop owners are worried about liability when replacing only one tire on all-wheel drive vehicles, possibly ruining the transmission, which that certainly could be possible. Real life story, he had 4 tires installed on an all-wheel drive Dodge Caravan. One tire was mislabeled and it was a wrong size tire, and it destroyed the transmission in 500 miles.
Wow.
Which I can understand that, because if you have one wheel at a different diameter than the others, which a tire that's mislabeled, the sidewall height might be different, and obviously that's going to put a strain on the transmission, so that could certainly damage it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but shaking my head at the technician that didn't double check his tires to make sure that they were all the same tires.
Yeah. How could something like that happen? Wow.
Somebody wasn't paying attention.
For all you geniuses like Donovan out there, and I say that not tongue-in-cheek at all, we've got a lot of very smart people listening. And I'm not one of you, but I do have something that helps me keep up, and that's ChatGPT. And it's funny how this has become a part of our life. There's 3 people that live in our home. There's Nancy, Earl, and there's ChatGPT. And it is amazing how our lives have improved because of that artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is becoming, next week it'll probably be twice as smart as it was right now. So I could be talking myself out of a job as a radio talk show host, because with ChatGPT, you don't need me. You don't need Nancy. You don't need Rick. You don't need Stu.
How about Alexa?
Alexa's way behind.
Don't leave her behind. She's been with us through thick and thin. We have to give her a little recognition. Speaking of recognition, would you like to go to the audio? And that is something that Jonathan is going to.
Yeah, let's do that. But first, Rick, you have something.
One last note here from Donovan. He says, but the dendrite problem of solid-state batteries is not going to be solved by AI. Apparently, that's something that needs human testing to figure out whatever the dendrite problem is.
Well, I told you you're probably right, and I was wrong. But thanks, man. We have a audio clip that Jonathan was able to pull out of the hearings that are being held right now. I think in New Orleans, the Texas Automobile Dealers Association and the Court of Appeal about the fact that the Federal Trade Commission wants to regulate car dealers more, and we were able to get this actual recording from the actual courtroom just a few days ago on the argument. The lawyers stand in front of the judge and argue orally. As the listeners of the show know, we have commented through amicus, friend of the court, so we have a paper objection and comment there. But are we ready with that clip now? Listen to this carefully. This is an actual argument before the circuit court.
Yeah.
This is one of the most pervasively regulated industries in the United States at every single step of the transaction. What the FTC did was to say, some bad actors have done bad acts. These are just the tip of the iceberg. So we're going to airdrop in this whole new apparatus of regulation, even though we've never tested it and we don't know if this will prevent the bad acts that have been happening. I mean, we don't dispute there's bad actors. There are 40 million covered car sales per year. Of course, it's a huge industry. There will be bad acts. But what we're missing is the link between these regulations, which I can't emphasize enough how burdensome these are on the industry, and preventing those bad acts. We hear again and again transactions take too long, they're too complicated, there's too much paperwork, there's too much confusion, and their answer is to inject more disclosures and paperwork into hundreds of millions of interactions between dealers and their customers. And we don't dispute that it's well-intentioned, but with the record-keeping requirement, dealers are obligated, under penalty of an unfair trade practice, to keep records of their compliance with this rule. Which means if you're on a test drive with the customer and you have to make a disclosure, if the customer texts you or the customer messages you through Facebook, how on earth is that dealer going to make the record to prove that they made the disclosure in the event the FTC comes knocking at some time? So,
and the customer may have test driven 10 vehicles.
Absolutely.
Or the customer may have said, well, okay, as to this vehicle, what if you add certain add-on to the car? What's that going to cost? So it could be multiple disclosures for each vehicle.
Absolutely. And remember, too, with the monthly payment, it says each time a monthly payment is discussed, the dealer has to basically do the full underwriting and put in the full total of payments. But now, every time there's a discussion of the monthly payment, these are all going to have to come in. And respectfully, I just don't think they have justified layering all these new burdens atop a time-tested regime. When you think about how this works on the ground, as dealers are making these disclosures, it's just going to be, here's your disclosure, please sign an initial. Here's your disclosure, please sign an initial. Here's your disclosure, please sign an initial. So when you look at this rule that they've adequately grappled with these very serious questions of, will these disclosures solve the problems that they claim to be happening? I don't think they've explained why the upending transactions in this way will stop the handful of bad actors. There's 30-some million car sales that will be subject to this transaction. So even if all 100,000 complaints they cite were somehow about this, that's 0.3% of sales. So again, there's a big denominator problem.
So the FTC says 13 billion savings, 1 billion costs. The economists are saying it's actually going to be bigger. The reduction in markups will more than offset the potential rise in prices due to potentially higher compliance costs borne by the dealers.
I don't agree with that. I mean, many of these are small businesses that run on pretty tight margins, and this offering price could also be affirmatively misleading, because now that the dealer has to go around offering price, disclosure, every car, this is the offering price, this is the offering price, this is the offering price. I believe as the rule is written, they intend it to be a ceiling, not a floor, and you can still negotiate down. We point out in our comments, many consumers might see this and think that it's now one price shopping and that's the price and you have to pay it, when in fact it's more of a ceiling. And so by anchoring so much to this new offering price, we actually think there's a very real risk that some consumers might think, oh, okay, that's it, we're done, and there's nothing further to negotiate.
That was the argument in New Orleans of the Circuit Court of Appeal. You heard the attorney, mainly the attorney from the Texas Automobile Dealers Association. If you listen to this whole audio, they're saying that there's only a handful of bad actors that are creating the problem. Well, if you listen to the show for 20 years, you'll find out that a handful of bad actors includes every dealer in Florida virtually, and even out of state. If you look at our archive for good dealers and bad dealers and listen to the mystery shopping reports, even the good dealers that we say are good are violating these rules. So this handful of bad actors is a myth. There's not a handful. There aren't any. Now I can obviously there's one or two or three, but I mean, from a practical standpoint, among 20,000 dealers or 30,000 dealers, there's not more than just a miserable couple of dozen that would actually qualify as not being a bad actor. And the argument of the of the Texas Automobile Dealers Association and the National Automobile Dealers Association is that the burden of paperwork and time consumed would actually cost the customer more than he's getting screwed now by the dealers by lying, cheating, and stealing, and adding junk fees and dealer installed accessories. So it's the argument as we see it is a fallacious argument. All they're doing is stall tactics. we fully believe the powers that be, those in the know, say that the Federal Trade Commission will proceed with this, and all the Texas Automobile Dealer Association and National Automobile Dealer Association are delaying the inevitable. And they're doing a good job of delaying it. And it's easy to delay. You can delay things, but you can't stop it. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen much later than we would have liked to see it happen.
So, ladies and gentlemen, voice your opinion. Give the Attorney General a call, Ashley Moody, and you can reach her at 866-966-7226. We are going to go to the Mystery Shopping Report, and if you want to be part of the Mystery Shopping Report, you can do so by voting, and you can vote at our text number, which is 772-497-6530. Our mystery shop took us to Agent Lightning, did a great job again, and she went to Rick Case Genesis, and it's all yours.
Yeah, Rick Case Genesis. A lot of you have heard the name Rick Case. He passed away several years ago. His wife, Rita Case, is now owns all the Rick Case dealerships, and they've got a whole bunch of them there. I'd say probably 2-3 dozen dealerships. Started in South Florida, and that's not a good place to start a car dealership because, as I say, it's kill or be killed. If you start, I have empathy for car dealers, especially new ones that go into business and they open a dealership in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. If you open a dealership in a market where all the other dealers are lying, cheating, and stealing, or as the Federal Trade Commission would say, they're all bad actors. Every dealer in South Florida is a bad actor. And Rick Case is down there. Rick Case Genesis is one of them. And I just wish some of the people that are involved in this hearing on the Federal Trade Commission could listen to some of these shopping reports. And I know I shouldn't be giving it away like I am now, but I'm going to read this mystery shopping report, Rick Case Genesis in South Florida. And I'm speaking the first person as if I were Agent Lightning, our undercover agent. I arrived in the mid-afternoon, and I approached the front of the building. There were 5 salesmen standing out front, all waiting to come up to meet me. I put my head down and walked toward the front of the building until I was greeted by a salesman named Paolo. He asked me if I was here to see anybody in particular today, and I told him I wasn't, but I was interested in checking out a new Genesis. Paolo said, "Perfect. Let's take a walk to the back lot, and I can show you my inventory." We walked through 2 different inventory lots, which I would say was at least a football field's distance, with me in heels. That's Agent Lightning in heels. I don't wear heels. And, until we finally reached where the Genesis cars were parked. He explained the difference between the lower-end model and the highest package, and I decided to go with the midline Genesis. We landed on a 2025 G70 Sport and an MSRP of $47,890. By the way, the Genesis is a hell of a good car. I mean, it's a luxury car. I'm just amazed that Hyundai did such a good job with their luxury car. It's right up there. I mean, it could compete with Lexus. Not quite there yet, but it's pretty close. Continuing on with the mystery shop, we went for a test drive, and he explained the vehicle's features. He even demonstrated some of the quasi-self-driving capabilities, which made me nervous. Once back at the dealership, we sat at his Paolo's cubicle, and he took my license and put me into their system. He confirmed that I loved the car and would potentially like to buy it, trial close. Yes, I replied. He then excused himself to go talk to his manager and get me a price sheet. A few minutes later, returned with a proposal sheet. The first thing I noticed was that the price was way over MSRP. Now, this is, we're getting pretty well into 2024. The COVID is over with. The supply chain interruption is 99% over with. Cars aren't selling over MSRP anymore, and with a couple of rare exceptions. So to see this Genesis price way over MSRP was a little shocking. So I questioned Paolo. He said that their $2,000 markup that goes on all Rick Case's vehicles, and that it includes a 20-year, 200,000-mile powertrain warranty. So this is supposed to justify a $2,000 markup over MSRP. Regular listeners to this show know that a powertrain warranty is worth absolutely nothing because if you obey the rules on the warranty in terms of maintenance, you don't ever have a problem with your powertrain. The losses are zero. So a worthless warranty justifying a markup of $2,000 over a sticker makes no sense at all. I said, well, I know there's no way either my husband and I will ever pay over MSRP for any car ever again, so I'm not sure if there's anything else to discuss here. So she kind of called Paolo's bluff. Paolo jumped up forward to his seat and asked me to tell him what would get me to buy today. Now, this is old school, standard old school. This is the game that car dealers have been playing for 100 years. I replied, well, something much closer to MSRP out the door, none of these markups. He said he checked with his manager, but he wanted me to know they're offering 2.99% for 48 months through Genesis. He also said, I couldn't get away from taxes, dealer fees, or title fees. Now he's telling me that I can't get away from dealer fees. Now, dealer fees are specifically banned by Florida law, and this case Genesis is in Florida. And this Florida law has been on the books for 20 years, and the Attorney General has said that they're going to begin enforcing this law on September 1st, and what is today, the 14th or 15th? So here we are having a salesman tell the mystery shopper that I got dealer fees, junk fees, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's also nothing, apparently, that the Ashley Moody or the law or the Federal Trade Commission can do about it, but it's illegal. It's illegal. And here I am on live radio talking about Rick Case Genesis breaking the law in the face of the warning given out months ago, and he's still breaking the law, and nobody cares. But I digress. Let me continue in the role of Agent Lightning. He then asked me again where I want to be, closer to the 48,000 MSRP as a final price is what I said. I've said that twice already. He repeated to me, just so we're clear, that I was looking to buy for 48,000 out the door today. And he says, let me see what my boss says. Let the games begin. Paolo then asked me for my credit card. Now, this is really old school. Paolo asked me for my credit card to take with him to show I was serious. I mean, back in the day, believe it or not, when I was early in the business and I was one of the evil bad actors, we used to get watches, rings, cash, anything. This is part of the game, part of the commitment to begin the selling process. So in this case here, he wanted Agent Lightning's credit card. I said, for what reason? He said, to show my boss that you're serious. And that's the old school. I said, nope, not happening. I've never been asked for this before. I'm sorry. That just seems insane to me. As I sit here in the radio studio, I feel the same thing. This is insane. He then said, okay, well, here, how about this? You sign here that you're willing to buy right now if the out-the-door price is $48,000. Now, he's asking me to swear to him, promise that I'll buy if I meet the price that I like. And that's not a contract, but that's what he wants me to do. He said, our goal is to buy a car today, but I'm not signing. I said, our goal is to buy a car today, but I'm not signing anything or running a credit until I see final numbers. He could talk to my husband. He said, okay, I understand what you're saying. I'll be right back. About 5 minutes later, his boss, Mauricio, came over to confirm everything that I just told Paolo. I was getting annoyed. He then asked me what vehicles I currently had registered to my address. I responded, like I told Paolo, a GMC, a Toyota, and a Volkswagen. He said, okay, let me see what I can do. However, likely, if there are cash incentives to lower the price, you won't qualify for the 2.99 annual percentage rate. He then asked me what my credit score was. I said, high 700s. He said, let me check for you. I'll be right back with some new numbers. Waited another 5 minutes, and Mauricio returned alone with his sheet and said this offer was available today only. Oh man, this defines old school and bad actors, right? And that in order to use incentives, he applied, I wouldn't qualify for the 2.99% rate. He'd already told me that. This time, the selling price was right at MSRP, and they showed $3,000 rebate after taxes and fees. The out-the-door price was $50,651.59. I asked for Paolo's card. He said he'd send him over. Paolo returned without a card, and then he said he'd be back in a few minutes with his card. At this point, I'd had enough, and I left. And that's one for the books, folks. I'd love to. In fact, I think I'm going to send this mystery shopping report to Ashley Moody, a certified return receipt requested,
exactly.
and see if anybody looks at it. Because why is she shooting her mouth off and telling people that she's going to enforce the Florida law on September 1st? And we've been shopping in South Florida week after week after week, and this is the worst one we've had, but we've had all of them violated the Florida laws.
Yeah.
So there we are.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to vote, remember you can go to 772-497-6530, and you can place your vote.
Earl, well, we may need to get Agent Lightning a bodyguard, or at the very least body armor, maybe a guard dog or something. That's getting scary. They wanted her credit card?
Yeah, credit card. Yeah, but,
That's
back
aggressive.
but you get this is the old school. Back in the day, we used to get the keys to the trade-in. You heard about there was a chain of dealers back in those days. They would get the customers' keys and they would throw them up on the roof.
Yeah. And that was north of us, and I remember us talking about that. I mean, the prospective customer couldn't get out the door.
Yeah,
they were in.
Yeah.
They were locked in.
I had a little thing I did when I was a Pontiac dealer years ago when I was evil, and this is kind of a nice ethical, taking advantage of a customer. When the customer came in and hadn't bought and has to go home and think about it, they would leave my dealership back then, and they had to pass a whole bunch of car dealers to get home, and you just know they're going to shop my price. So what we would do is we would give them a free pint of ice cream. And say, be sure to put this in the freezer because we wouldn't want it to melt, so they would go straight home and they wouldn't stop off and shop my price.
Okay.
Could you pick out your flavor?
What?
Could the customer request a flavor, ice cream flavor?
I'm not sure.
Well, we've got Negan1 says big fat F. Jonathan in Palm Coast says Rick Case Genesis gets a grade of F, a $2,000 automatic markup, additional illegal dealer fees, and an additional fee of over $1,200 for shipping, which was already on the Monroe label.
Absolutely. I should have pointed that out. Now, not only is that a violation of Florida law, that's a violation of federal law. The federal law with the freight, and that's a for all 50 states, you cannot charge for something that's already been charged for. And it's a double dip. They broke every rule I can think of.
And an extremely pushy salesman makes me look for a different dealership. Grading on a curve be darned. This dealership gets the only grade they deserve, the aforementioned F. I'd give them a much lower grade if I could. Let's see. Okay, now we go over to this section, and we have, oh boy, they're coming in like crazy here.
Oh boy.
Get my computer to scroll.
And Jonathan pointed out that we had a mystery shop from Rick Case, and that was Hyundai. And he pointed out it did get an F on that mystery shopper report.
We've got Bob in Maryland says, since it's a Genesis, on the first day the FTC said, let there be light, this is a good example of what is needed with the Cars Act. It's an F. K. Mitch says, F minus with 3 exclamation points. Anne Marie says, F. Their behavior is lower than a snake's belly in Death Valley.
Oh, boy.
T. Cash says, let's get back here, okay. T. Cash says, total F. Oh, boy. Sorry, my computer's acting crazy on me here. And let's see, T. Cash is F minus, new name badge, same old 4 square with junk scribbled on a page. Unbelievable. Kim Appreciates Life says, the more I hear about these crooked car dealerships, the more I want to buy a car online the way Tesla does it. And Tim Gilliland says, too many games for me, D. Mark Smith, I give him a solid D minus. No excuse for that treatment. Johnny Z. Fradley says D. Brenda Wise says F for so many reasons. Brian Sidlatko, Agent Lightning should not have to negotiate to get to MSRP. D. Donovan says, a big F for me. Asking for the credit card is just insane. Earl, what will you do when you're ignored by Ashley Moody? F. That was from Cram 1624. Mark H. says, that credit card scam is like not giving your back your keys on a trade-in. F. Kim Appreciates Life, triple F. For myself, I try not to do this very often, but that's totally an F. That was almost right. He's asking for her credit card. How many people are going in there would automatically just think, well, all right, here's my credit card. And now you're a total hostage. Because you know they're not giving it back until you start signing on dotted lines.
You are hijacked. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like having the car keys.
Yep.
Yeah. And
what do you think, Nancy?
I think that I'm questioning the powertrain warranty. I mean, a powertrain, has anyone, please call the show, they last a lifetime if they're taken. I mean, you really have to drive your car into the gutter in order to have your powertrain.
And I'll bet you that there's a fine print in there that says you must be able to prove regular service and maintenance on the vehicle.
Oh, sure.
Before that will take effect, that 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty.
Absolutely. Good information, Rick. And as far as the credit card is concerned, this here, please, Attorney Ashley Moody, please help us. We have been on a long journey, and we need your help. I give them an F.
Oh, and this in from Frank in Jupiter Farms. Love the ice cream from her Pontiac dealership days. Back to the grade, F.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a long time. I don't remember giving an F. I always fight for the curve, and
you do.
And to give an F to a dealer in South Florida, that is a very serious thing. I'm going to give them an F. I'm going to fail them. And to say you're the worst dealer in South Florida, I hope Rita Case, that's Rick's wife, who is running the store now. Matter of fact, Rick and Rita Case were a team all the years they were in business before Rick passed away about 3 years ago. And the word was that Rita was really the brains behind the operation. Rick was a salesperson. He was he was a get him out the door kind of a guy. Probably worked a lot with the marketing departments and the sales departments. But the brains behind the whole thing was Rita. And if she heard about this, I wonder what she would say.
By the way, Johnny Z. Fradley, he mentioned that they didn't actually start in Fort Lauderdale, and I found information on the Rick Case website that said that Rick Case started his first dealership in 1962 in Akron, Ohio.
Wow.
And his first in Florida was a Hyundai and Acura dealerships that they started in 1985 and went on from there.
Wow.
Interesting.
They're big. He didn't mention how many stores they have now, but it's got to be, 50.
Oh, I would have to guess. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick.
Well, until Rick pulls that up, please, ladies and gentlemen, let your voice be heard. Give Ashley Moody a call, 866-966-7226. We need your help. That's 866-966-7226.
Well, according to Google, it says Rick Case Automotive Group, maybe they've downgraded a bit. They operate 16 dealerships in Florida, Georgia, and Ohio.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah.
Bigger than that.
I thought they were too, because you see that name seems like everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Just something we didn't cover earlier, but we're talking a lot about the self-driving cars now. And on the East Coast is one thing, but on the West Coast, they've jumped in with both feet. I had no idea. Nancy and I saw this article in today's Wall Street Journal, how San Francisco learned to love self-driving cars. Now, we're not talking about a few examples on the road now. There's in San Francisco, there are 10,000 paid rides a week.
Is that right?
In San Francisco. And it's become the preferred way. They don't even, it's hurting Uber and Lyft. It's the taxi cabs, forget about it. But if in San Francisco now, the name of the game are these autonomous, driverless cabs. So if they could do it like the public in a big city, I mean, I'm scared to drive in San Francisco. I mean, if I
you would think, yeah.
I mean, I just going up and down Nob Hill, some of these.
Yeah, but with more drivers.
Lombard Street.
Lombard, that's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah, that's the crookedest street in America.
Yeah, but with more drivers on the street, I think maneuvering for EV is autonomous is much easier because they all understand each other.
Well, that's going to be the awesome part, though, is when all these cars get connected by the internet, by the cloud, and they can all talk to each other, you're not going to have any more car accidents because every car suddenly will know what that other driver's going to do, because that's the most dangerous part of driving a car is the unpredictable driver that you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But if they could all talk to each other instantly,
that's my point. That's my point right there.
Utopia.
Yeah, exactly.
But you also have this. When you do it, you have to be there. You have to get in an autonomous and try it out, because you will have a whole. You see, it's true that autonomous cars can make stupid mistakes. It's true that the cars that Nancy and I drive have made those mistakes. Mm-hmm. But it's also true that in other cases that we don't talk about that often, they are better than we are. This terrible rainstorm that we had the other day, I wouldn't have wanted to drive the car. They can park the car better and faster than we can. So if you weigh the safety, if you're safer than the human, and then you have a foible where you're causing an accident, and you got to weigh the two together. I mean, it's a balance of, is this autonomous car more safe than a human? In most cases, I believe the autonomous cars are safer than human drivers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And imagine parking lots now where For what we have now, every spot has to have enough space for the people to open their doors. But imagine if the cars all could go and park 2 inches apart and have their mirrors folded automatically.
Yeah.
You could fit another 40, 50 cars in a small lot. Yeah,
Everything
it'd be
in
worse
sync.
than what they're doing with the airplane seats.
Yeah,
But
it's all in sync. you know,
Yeah.
And good things have to come from that, for sure. So it's the experience of driving EV. You really have to experience in order to, come to a conclusion. And you either love it or you hate it.
Okay, I think we're wrapped up here, are we?
Okay, we're going to wrap it up. Another great show.